Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Jaya Durvaja Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev Hidai Go Premanande Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivajikacharya Stotra Shishimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivajikacharya Stotra Shishimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Santa Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananda Gauri Vaishnava Vrind Ki Namacharya Haridas Thakur Ki Preta Gaur Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrind Ki Radha Krishna Gopinath Shankar Radha Gungi Govardhan Ki Vrindavan Dham Ki Mathura Dham Ki Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Ganga Mai Ki Yamuna Mai Ki Bhakti Devi Ki Shri Gopala Shri Harinam Sankirtan Yagya Ki Srila Prabhupada Translation Book Distribution Ki Srila Prabhupada Translation Prasad Distribution Ki Hidai Guru Premanande Hari Bol. All glory to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glory to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glory to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glory to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Hare Krishna. Thank you everyone for coming to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class. We're reading from Canto 3, Chapter 32, title Entanglement in Fruitive Activities, verse number 5. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Canto 3, Chapter 32, verse number 5. Ye swadharman duyanti dhira kamata hetave nishanganyartha karmana prashanta shuddha chetasaha. Ye swadharman duyanti dhira kamartha hetave nishanganyasta karmana prashanta shuddha chetashaha. Ye swadharman duyanti dhira kamartha hetave nishanganyasta karmana prashanta shuddha chetashaha. Ye, those who swadharman, the occupational duties, na, do not, duyanti, take advantage of, dhira, intelligent, kama, sense gratification, artha, economic development, hetave, for the sake of, nishangaha, free from material attachment, nyasta, given up, karmana, fruit of activities, prashantaha, satisfied, shuddha chetasha, of purified consciousness. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Abhay Chandra Ravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Translation: those who are intelligent and are of purified consciousness are completely satisfied in Krishna consciousness. Freed from the modes of material nature, they do not act for sense gratification. Rather, since they are situated in their own occupational duties, they act as one is expected to act. Purport: the first class example of this type of man is Arjuna. Arjuna was a Kshatriya, and his occupational duty was to fight. Generally, kings fight to extend their kingdoms, which they rule for sense gratification. But as far as Arjuna is concerned, he declined to fight for his own sense gratification. He said that although he could get a kingdom by fighting with his relatives, he did not want to fight with them. But when he was ordered by Krishna and convinced by the teachings of Bhagavad Gita that his duty was to satisfy Krishna, then he fought. Thus he fought not for his sense gratification, but for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Persons who work at their prescribed duties, not for sense gratification, but for gratification of the Supreme Lord, are called Nishangaha, freed from the influence of the modes of material nature. Nyasta Karmana indicates the results of the activities are given to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such persons appear to be acting on the platform of their respective duties, but such activities are not performed for personal sense gratification. Rather, they perform for the Supreme Person. Such devotees are called Prashantaha, which means completely satisfied. Shuddha Chetasha means Krishna conscious. Their consciousness has become purified. In unpurified consciousness, one thinks of himself as the Lord of the universe, but in purified consciousness, one thinks himself the eternal servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Putting oneself in that position of eternal servitorship to the Supreme Lord and working for Him perpetually, one actually becomes completely satisfied. As long as one works for his personal sense gratification, he will always be full of anxiety. That is the difference between ordinary consciousness and Krishna consciousness. Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah Shri Chaitanya Manovishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalitam Shri Vishakanvitam Cham He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tirubhascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. We're reading from Canto 3, Chapter 32, titled Entanglement and Fruit of Activities. Verse number 5. Those who are intelligent and are of purified consciousness and are completely satisfied in Krishna consciousness, free from the modes of material nature, they do not act for sense gratification. Rather, they are situated in their occupational duties. They act as one is expected to act. Those who are intelligent. Everyone's intelligent here? This chapter follows from the previous chapter in which Lord Kapila Dev, in one sense, if we read it, not scaring the readers, but giving the readers the knowledge and the information of those who actually act not in accordance with Shastric injunctions. Now in this chapter, there's the first 3 verses describe of those who work selfishly in accordance to Shastric injunction. They follow Shastra, but they want to work for their selfish motives. In verses 5 to 7, it will describe those who actually offer their results or work in a sense of detachment. So detached workers. So the theme of this chapter, or at least as it's quite loud and clear in the title of the chapter, is entanglement and fruitive activities. This fruitive mentality is what's actually being condemned. We want to perform a duty, perform a service, and then actually have the mentality of enjoying the fruits for it. And this fruitive mentality is a stain which actually it's very hard to get rid of. Now obviously one may ask, okay, how do we get rid of it? Well, this chapter will describe graphically what it is. So it will give us the determination to actually try and give it up, or at least come to the platform of knowledge that will help us give up this. So in the first section of the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, it is actually described. There are so many personalities in the Bhagavatam, starting from, but one of them is Ambarish Maharaj. We all know the story of Ambarish Maharaj. It is described that he engaged all of his senses in serving the Lord, and in the end, or as that pastime is being described in the Bhagavatam, he observed Ekadasi for a whole year. And it said that he offered the results or any results or whatever he achieved from observing that Ekadasi, he offered that to the Supreme Lord, and he said the results of it should be given to the citizens. And it is said that the citizens of the kingdom were always engaged in glorifying the Lord. So, working selflessly. There's another example in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, in the first section itself. Actually, the very beginning of Brihad Bhagavatamrita, when Parikshit Maharaj is speaking to his mother Uttara, and he's describing, it happened in the very beginning itself, that in Prayag, in the month of Magh, which is November, December, the very cold month, there are sages that are being assembled there, and they're all glorifying Lord Madhava. And as the glorification, they're glorifying and they're just drinking the glorification. Their hearts are completely satisfied. At that moment, a Brahmana enters the assembly, and as the Brahmana enters the assembly, this Brahmana is considered to be the authority in that region, and the Brahmana brings his Shaligram Shila and starts worshipping the Shaligram Shila right in the assembly, and all of the other attendees there, or all those that are actually assembled in that area, start offering respects to the Brahmana and also start offering their worship through this Brahmana to the Shaligram Shila. And this Brahmana is actually very, very courteous, respectful to everyone present there, doesn't distinguish, sannyasis, brahmacharis, shudras. He actually prepares the foodstuff, offers it to the Lord, and as the offerings go on, there's kirtan that's happening, so it's a festival. And at the end of it, after the ceremony is complete, he actually feeds all the Vaishnavas, he feeds all the people present there to their heart content, and in the end, the sages assembled there request the Brahmana to please now partake of this, of the remnants of the ceremony. So as the Brahmana and his family starts to relish the prasad, whilst kirtan is happening, at the end of it all, he goes to the deity, to the Shaligram Shila, and he tells the deity, may any result that's been obtained by my worship be only for your satisfaction, be only for your glorification. So completely, there's a word that says here, Nishangaha, freed from the influence of modes of material nature. Or Nyasta Karmanaha, indicates results of the activities are given to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So again, we in our society there are people who come from different walks of life, grihastas, brahmacharis, sannyasis, especially speaking for myself, as a grihasta working in the material world, having duties and obligations, dealing with the material energy, as much as sometimes we spend 8 to 14 hours a day just working with people who are actually not practicing devotees. So now one may say, okay, there's a sense of doership or proprietorship, but that actually also extends into the spiritual realm. In Madhurya Kadambini, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, obviously we won't expand on this much, but speaks of the cause of anarthas. And there are anarthas resulting from 4 kinds of offenses, or the 4 kinds of anarthas that are resulting from 4 kinds of causes. One is past sinful reactions. So that's easy to understand. We may have knowingly or unknowingly accrued some sinful reaction to which there are anarthas in our heart which are impeding us in our devotional service. Next is anarthas resulting from past pious activities. So a lot of times the tendency for pious karma, for good karma, let us do some charitable work. In fact, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna describes 3 kinds of charity. So, past pious activities. Third is anarthas accruing from past offenses that have been in a seva aparad, nama aparad. so on and so forth. That's why it is at the end, every morning after japa, we always say the final offense is to be inattentive while chanting, because that's the seed of all the other offenses. The fourth offenses, or the fourth anartha, come from success in our spiritual practice. Lava, puja, pratishtaha, that which comes from our spiritual practice. That can also dissolve us of, or can actually be an impediment to us Krishna consciousness. Because naturally, as we, even as practicing sadhakas, there are times when, someone may just come and say, "Oh, Prabhu, Maharaji, you're doing such good service." And that mentality is there within us. Oh, no, it's not me. But deep within our heart, we have the desire, oh, actually, finally this person has recognized my glories. My Guru Maharaj was once sharing us a pastime or an incident or an encounter with His Holiness Sachinandan Swami. So every Kartik, Sachinandan Swami and many other, exalted Vaishnavas go to Vrindavan for Kartik. So this one year, Sachinandan Maharaj had undertaken a very serious vow of Namavratas, of chanting the holy names for, he was very strict, and and it just happened after one retreat. His Holiness Giriraj Maharaj went asked for a meeting with Sachinandan Swami and wanted to speak to him about, the holy name and realizations and so on and so forth. So, so Sachinandan Maharaj then described that I'd come to Vrindavan to actually chant the holy name in the mood of being servant of the servant, and really relishing the holy name. But I felt something was impeding my that mood, or that taste that I was wanting to relish. So he decided that he should actually undertake some menial service in the Dham. So he resolved that he will do some service by cleaning Radha Kund, because he was residing by the banks of Radha Kund. But then he decided if he were to clean or sweep Radha Kund during the day, devotees would come and say, "Oh Maharaj, you're so humble. Look at the humble service that you're doing. This is, please allow us to do this service." So then Maharaj decided that he will sweep during the late hours of the night when everyone is sleeping, or everyone is resting, so that no one is there actually to see what he was doing. So like that, he performed his service to Radha Kund, and then he said when he did that service, after however long that he did it, he could then feel that deep taste for the holy name actually sprouting in his heart. And he obviously, Maharaj in humility is actually just showing us an example of what it is to what extent should one go to actually gain a taste for the holy name. In Hari Bhakti Vilas, as we just observed Ekadasi yesterday, there are injunctions to follow Ekadasi. There's certain rules and regulations that actually one should do, one should not do. And in the end of it, there is a prayer itself that one says. It's actually described in Hari Bhakti Vilas. Let all the benefit that's being accrued from me following this Ekadasi be as an offering to you. So, in sum and substance, everything is actually meant as an offering to the Lord, just for us to cut through this doership mentality, because this is so strongly ingrained in our consciousness, and that's how we are. I remember this one story of His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami. Many of you may have heard it. It's described in his book, The Black Lotus. And this was towards the last year, in fact, maybe the last few months of Srila Prabhupada's presence on this planet, that obviously, as we know, Prabhupada was very ill. His movement was just limited, just being him, on the bed, and whenever it needed to be, he would give darshans to devotees. And in that time, Tamal Krishna Maharaj, who was attending to Srila Prabhupada, would always read out letters that that spoke out scores of book distribution to Srila Prabhupada, because that would actually, he said that the moment Srila Prabhupada heard about book distribution results, he would always be infused with that enthusiasm. So at that point in time, His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami was spending a lot of time or preaching in the Soviet bloc, and it was actually very, very austere situation, very challenging, because he couldn't actually transport the books into the country, and His Holiness Devananda Swami also writes and talks about the challenges that were there at that time. So Maharaj had such amazing stories to share of the thrills of his book distribution efforts there that Tamakrisha Maharaj requested His Holiness Bhaktivedanta Swami to come to Srila Prabhupada, and and that would actually infuse Srila Prabhupada with that enthusiasm or that determination, or to actually stay on longer, because it was said that at that time Srila Prabhupada was asking devotees, should I stay, should I go? So when Bhaktivedanta Swami was actually telling Srila Prabhupada what his success was, at that time Srila Prabhupada had tears in his eyes, and he just embraced Bhaktivedanta Swami and said, now your life is perfect. And in this lifetime itself, you'll see Krishna. And everyone was just overjoyed and thrilled in the room, and they all said, Jai, Hari Bol, It's never happened before. So Tamakrisha Maharaj requested His Holiness Bhaktivedanta Swami to come again next day and do the same, because there was still some other stories or some other reports to share with Srila Prabhupada. So the next day, Bhaktivedanta Swami comes and offers his obeisances, and then starts telling Srila Prabhupada of some other projects or some other venues or places that he would actually distribute books at. And it seemed that Srila Prabhupada was disinterested. He was just not paying attention or something. And Maharaj felt that he had to speak a bit louder. So when he spoke a bit louder, after a few minutes, Srila Prabhupada just cut him off and said, you're not the doer. Do you understand that? At that very moment, Maharaj's heart just was filled with so much he said that the whole world will remember how Srila Prabhupada embraced me the day before, but to me, I'll always remember how Srila Prabhupada corrected me and actually saved me from that mentality, or that I was going down this path of, just understanding that I'm the doer, but in reality, Krishna is the doer. So this doership mentality actually sprouts from that spirit of enjoying independent of Krishna. In one room conversation, Srila Prabhupada is in Toronto, I believe, he's saying that devotees were questioning him on something, and Srila Prabhupada said, the difficulty for you to understand is that you just want to be independent. That is your problem. He said the moment you realize that you're actually dependent on, you recognize this dependence on Krishna, then you won't have this problem. So this dependence is something we all are rebelling against. A lot of times when I ask myself, someone may ask, how did you join? Why did you join the Hare Krishna movement? What inspired you? A lot of times the answer would be because I'm a rebel. There's a spirit of I just want to do something different. But at least for myself, when I looked inside, it was somehow or the other there was this loud enough voice saying, but I didn't want to accept it, that I want to be independent. So we can introspect and understand where is this coming from. A lot of times there's this question that's asked by many theologians, the question of evil. And they think that this, many traditions recognize evil as being something, independent of God, but actually it's of free will. And this obviously is something that's being debated on even in our own Gaudiya Vaishnava free will. Do we have free will? As we are speaking, there are some people from our Gaudiya Sampradaya who are actually saying, is bhakti inherent to the soul or not? There's this constant, argument that's actually going back and forth. So this concept of free will comes about the moment we misuse our free will. At that very moment, we are given this false playground to actually exercise our. The problem is that our constitutional position, we want to be Vishnu, but we are not Vishnu or Krishna. I remember this one time, a memory by His Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj. Actually, someone else was relating this to about Tamal Krishna Maharaj. That he said that he was actually serving Srila Prabhupada, and he was going in and out of the room of Srila Prabhupada to just attend to whatever he needed. And he said that each time he actually entered Srila Prabhupada's room and left, he was actually offering obeisances. This happened about 20 times. After 20 times, this devotee, whoever this was stopped counting. It was so many times. Later on, he asked Maharaj, why were you offering obeisances? He said, to recognize my dependence on Srila Prabhupada, and so that I don't have this false independent mentality of doership. So this comes about in our, I like the one point that Honorable Devamrita Swami was once making. He writes it in his book as well, Bhakti Bhava. A lot of time when we join the movement, a lot of time when we take to Krishna consciousness, our family, our relatives can't really understand what's happening with us. And he said, because bhakti, it's very difficult to gauge from the outside. It's an internal affair. It's not a religious belief that, I believe, and then boom, there's a floodgate that's opening there that you are entitled to. Bhakti is an internal affair. So actually he said bhakti is a true fulfillment of our emotional expression and fulfillment. So bhakti is very hard to actually see from the outside. It's actually an internal affair. So we may be chanting, we may be practicing for how many years, have all these titles under our belt, but is our consciousness being elevated to the platform of being the servant of the servant of the servant? If not, for most of us, it's a work in progress. So like that, we understand that this is, in fact, in the previous chapter too, there's a reference to intelligence and purified consciousness. But in this it is said, so this section deals with speaking on those of detached workers. And it starts off in the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita itself, where Krishna says that, when we act in a position that's not true to our nature, there's no question of happiness and being peaceful. In fact, one of the first verses of the Gita, in chapter 2 of the Bhagavad Gita, how can there be happiness when there's no peace? So we understand that with happiness and peace actually go hand in hand. Is that when we recognize our true position as being the servants of the Lord. So this, just wanted to speak a little on this verse, and because today is such an auspicious day, it's a disappearance day of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, Raghunath Bhatta Goswami and Raghunath Das Goswami. Just wanted to speak very little, whatever time that's left, on these personalities. Obviously we understand Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is the author of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. What inspired him to write the Chaitanya Charitamrita is also actually mentioned in the CC itself. Just wanted to speak a little on Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, and if time permits, then we'll speak a little Raghunath Das Goswami. So Raghunath Bhatta Goswami's life is described in the Antya Leela of Chaitanya Charitamrita. I think it's chapter 13 or 31, I can't remember. Yeah, chapter 13 of the Antya Leela. The chapter titled Pastimes with Jagannathananda Pandit and Raghunath Bhatta. Yep. So, Raghunath Bhatta is the son of Tapan Mishra. And his parents they were Vaishnavas, and they were actually residing in Varanasi. And he had a desire to go see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Bengal. So he undertook travel from Varanasi to Bengal. And during his travel, he came across a personality named Ramadas Vishwas, who was actually a minister in the government, and he was a scholar in the Bhagavatam, but in his heart he had this desire for merging into the effulgence of the Lord. So he was an impersonalist, but he would sing the glories of Lord Ram, and he would be serving, he would constantly be chanting the glories of Lord Ramachandra. And it happened to be that when Raghunath Bhatta Goswami was actually in his travels, when he was traveling from Varanasi to Bengal, he came across Ramdas Vishwas. And Ramdas Vishwas, now one may say that his piety or whatever that was there, he actually started serving Raghunath Bhatta. He started massaging his legs, he started cooking for him, so much so that Raghunath Bhatta was actually feeling a bit hesitant and, just at times would just say, look, why are you serving me? Let's just come and, glorify the Lord. But to Ramdas Vishwas' credit, that was actually what enabled him to have darshan of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Later, when they arrive at Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's residence, when Raghunath Bhatta offers his obeisances and conveys his obeisances to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on behalf of Tapan Mishra, the Lord accepts it, but the Lord somehow keeps a distance from Ramdas Vishwas. And he says that, because obviously Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is omniscient, he knows everything, so he knew the desire of Ramdas Vishwas. So it is said that even the slightest desire to enjoy this material world, the final snare of Maya is to become one with the Lord. So until we are able to overcome that, we can't truly taste the sweet mellows of bhakti. So Raghunath Bhatta finally meets the Lord, and then he spends about 8 months with the Lord, as per the Chaitanya Charitamrita described, and in that he's being instructed by the Lord, and the Lord then tells him, go and serve your parents and study Srimad Bhagavatam. So now one may say, okay, serving the parents, and how is that being a principle? But we need to understand his parents were Vaishnavas. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructs him to go and serve the parents and learn Srimad Bhagavatam. There's a famous verse in the Bhagavatam, Guru Nasasya, Vedaho Nasasya. So one cannot be a spiritual master, one should not be a father, or should not be a teacher, a husband, if one cannot deliver the dependents from this cycle of birth and death. On the contrary, and just to support that verse, it is described that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that if the father is being attacked, the son's duty is to protect. But he said in the instance of Prahlad Maharaj, when Hiranyakashipu was being attacked by Nrsingadev, Prahlad did not, protect, because his father was actually going against the will of the Lord. Similarly, we see in the pastime of Bali Maharaj, where Sukracharya is advising him not to worship Vishnu, or not to offer anything to Vishnu. Again, he was being his orders were not being carried out just for that reason. Similarly, we see in the pastime of Lord Ramachandra, Kaikeyi, where she is advising Bharat to go against the orders or the wishes of his father, which was to install Lord Ram. Bharat, disobeys his mother. So that, but on the other hand, if the parents are Vaishnavas, then it's the duty of the child, or in that instance as Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, to look after or to serve his parents as a service to the Lord. And then the second instruction was to study Srimad Bhagavatam from a realized devotee. Similarly, we find towards the end of Raghunath Bhatta's pastimes that he actually, after his parents departed from this world, he then moved to Vrindavan, and he was actually studying under Rupa and Sanatan Goswami. So always maintaining this spirit of servitude, or this being dependent on the mercy of the Lord. Next is, maybe 5 minutes, just wanted to speak a little on Raghunath Das Goswami. Now Raghunath Das Goswami, as we see, he came from a very, very wealthy and influential family, the Majumdars. So both his both of his father and his uncle, he was the only heir to the kingdom, or to the fortune. And it said that both the father and the uncle were actually very pious in that they gave charity profusely to the brahmanas. But somehow or the other they always didn't take to full surrender to the Lord. So I can't remember the term, but the Lord actually describes Chaitanya Mahaprabhu describes to Raghunath Das Goswami that you've now been saved, because if you didn't follow into their footsteps. And later on, there are very valuable instructions that the Lord gives to Raghunath Das Goswami, especially when Raghunath Das Goswami is trying to leave his family and just come and surrender to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he tells them, don't practice Falgu Vairagya. It means, he gave a very good example. He gives a very good example that do your duty so perfectly, but internally be absorbed in the mood of devotion and love and service to Krishna. And we can see that in his life itself. Like there were so many instances where he was involved in material affairs of protecting his uncle and his fathers, from them being imprisoned by the Nawab. He used his intelligence and dexterity in protecting the legal affairs. So a devotee like that, who is fully surrendered to the Lord, becomes daksha, an expert in all aspects, to the extent that the Lord empowers the devotee. But somehow the other, the devotee is always absorbed in loving service to the Lord. There's this one instance, maybe we've discussed in the past, in LA. This devotee is describing that Srila Prabhupada was on the phone with someone in some other part of America, and they were discussing a property transaction that the devotees were trying to get into, and they were seeking Prabhupada's advice and counsel on this. And it is said that on so many occasions Srila Prabhupada would tell the devotee this, but on other occasions Srila Prabhupada was like, he would just listen. But he had a paper right next to him, and he was writing something on the paper. And as he was writing on the paper, the conversation went on for a while. Then after a while, the conversation finished, and Srila Prabhupada hung up the phone. And when this devotee actually, I think maybe Prabhupada left the room or he went somewhere else. When he went to the table where Prabhupada was sitting and he looked at the paper, what was Prabhupada writing on the paper? Mahamantra. So even though he was involved in such a, I don't know, they didn't describe if it was a heated exchange or what was it, but advising the devotee on property or legal matters, but his internal mood was that he was absorbed in somehow he was always chanting the Mahamantra. So like that we see Jnana Dipena Bharataha, Krishna illuminates, and especially the 15th chapter, where I'm seated in everyone's heart, and from me come knowledge, forgetfulness. So, to the extent that we offer the results of our service, the results of our activities to Shri Shri Radha Gopinath, to that extent we are purified, most importantly, and we are given the intelligence to carry on our service with determination. I think a couple of years ago, Karnashan Prabhu was actually mentioning this. I think this was some festival, and in the end he was saying that a lot of times, especially in the service of preaching, we come across so many individuals, we come across, we somehow we get engaged in cultivating people. What he said, which really helped me and so many others that were present there, is that each day, whenever we have such exchanges, or whenever we try to inspire someone in through whatever little way that we can, or try to guide them, always come in front of the Lord and just tell the Lord, these are your devotees. Somehow or the other, you're giving me this opportunity or the service to cultivate them, but actually it's you. Please allow my words and allow my consciousness to always be directed to allow them to, or to guide them to take shelter of you. Even if it may just take 30 seconds, if you just come from Radha Gopinath, just say that, that itself is actually pleasing to Radha Gopinath. So I remember, like, I think a few years ago, a book distributor, each day, I think this book distributor distributed about 50 or 60 sets of Bhagavatam in a year. Maybe, you know, how many ever, the total number, if you just break it down, you'd be like, you know, so each time when I asked this devotee said, each time I distribute a set of Srila Prabhupada's books, I take down their names and I come in front of Radha Gopinath and say, Radha Gopinath, Shri Shri Gauranta, Shri Jagannath Bala Subhadra, Srila Prabhupada, these are the devotees, these are the people that have received your mercy. You've made me an instrument of your compassion. Please, now they're in your hands. Please give them the intelligence by which they can come to you. And he said like that each time, you know, he would come and offer their names to Sri Radha Gopinath. So somehow or the other that's one way, or that's, to me, that's been experienced in a way that, you know, get rid of the doership mentality, at least in our own service to Sri Radha Gopinath. So I'll end here. If we run out of time, if maybe someone has a question or a comment. Okay. Thank you very much. Grantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki